Hello, I'm Dr. Kristen Wilson, Associate Professor of Strategic Corporate Communication here in the College of Business at Eastern Kentucky University. I've been teaching here for over 15 years, and these are some tips that I've come up with as working with students and working on getting internships and jobs, things that we've seen transform in the past 5 or 10 years that have really changed the landscape of looking for a job, and not just looking, but solidifying a job. So the first thing to consider is your resume is a stepping stone, right? No one is going to hire you just from looking at your resume. Rather, it is a stepping stone to the next step in the job search process, which would ultimately be an interview, right? So you want to look good on paper first so that you can have your foot in the door to then meet individuals, let your personality show, give examples of your prior education and your experience. But your resume is the first step in getting to that location. So what are some tips? Make sure to follow instructions. I know this sounds silly, but there are certain industry standards and norms and instructions that are in particular given on the job posting. So don't skim over the job posting, read it thoroughly. Are they asking you to include a cover letter? And are they asking for specific information in that cover letter or for you to include certain information in your resume? Follow those instructions. In line with that, there are no hard and fast rules that work for every single industry, every single job, and every single opportunity. So what I would encourage you to do is to talk to experts in your field. I'm not an expert in every field. I can't tell you all of the ins and outs, for example, of applying for a job in supply chain management or perhaps at a federal level. But I do know and recognize that there are certain features that must be included in those areas, right? A lot of times for state or federal jobs, they give specific instructions and want you to complete a much longer resume. So follow the instructions and learn about the industry or the position. If you don't know, some ways that you can do that. Find a professor here at EKU. Ask them questions in their field of expertise and in looking for those jobs and what they might recommend that you include or not include on your resume to give you the best chance of getting the job. Another great way that you can learn about the field in which you might be entering would be to do your own research. Now, we are overwhelmed with AI, and this is nothing that will be new to you. But thanks to a good friend of mine, Tim at Texas State University, I've got some new tips to pass on to you. If you're wanting to learn more about a particular industry, take the time to go on a job search site. Something like LinkedIn or Glassdoor or Monster or any place where jobs are posted. Think about an industry in which you would like to work and search and gather different job postings for those either entry-level positions or specific types of positions you're looking for. Then use AI tools to your advantage to mine for data that can help you prepare. Allow it to do the heavy work for that multitude of text and report back to you on some of the skills, on some of the particular aspects that those job postings are looking for. Another thing that I'd really like to encourage you is to get away from what I call cookie cutter resumes. If you have one resume and you are uploading it to every single job posting for which you apply, you are doing yourself a disservice. Your resume should be fluid. It should be dynamic. It should not be static with the same information that you put on it your junior year of college or right after you graduate. Now, a bulk of the information can remain the same. You'll always have your degree from your university. You'll always have your experience at your prior workplaces. But you will need to tailor the resume for each specific job for which you are applying if you want the best chance of being invited in for an interview and ultimately to be hired. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, how do I tailor this? How do I find this information? What are they looking for? The best place to start is the job posting. If you look at the job posting, look at those skills and requirements that they're asking for. Look for the type of person that they're describing that they would like to hire. Look even at the description of the organization. Are they giving you any information that tells you, for example, we are a results-driven company, or we are team-oriented in this way? Look for those specific keywords when the skills in the position and in the organization, and use those exact keywords. Tailor your experiences and your education to what they say they're looking for. Your goal is to show why you are the best candidate for this position. And to do that, you must meet their requirements. So don't reinvent the wheel. Look at what they've said they're looking for and use those exact phrases, those exact keywords, and what you prepare for your resume. Another thing that I would recommend is to avoid buzzwords and jargon. I know this is one that you've probably heard before, but there are words that we often use as fillers, oftentimes in our resume, that don't really mean anything, right? Instead of using words that aren't specific and don't give examples, make sure that you talk about how you improved efficiency or how you led a team. Some examples of those words are things like hard worker, dynamic, proactive, go-getter. All of those are overplayed and have no meaning whatsoever in the field. Instead, talk about how you are proactive, how you went above and beyond in position, how you exceeded your sales goal. Give specific examples rather than using vague words that don't convey meaning of your actual experiences and the actual expertise that you can bring to this field. What I recommend to my students is to have two versions of your resume. Have a resume that has the look and feel that you want, that you'll give to people in person, that you'll take to the job fairs, or that you will email or attach directly when you know a person will see it. However, applicant tracking systems get confused very easily by bullet points, by non-easily readable fonts, especially by tables. And if you have worked a lot in templates for resumes, a lot of the content shows up in a table. You can have the best content that meets all of those criteria and keywords that we've talked about, but if the computer can't find them or recognize them, you're not going to get moved on. When thinking about the sections to include on your resume, there are a couple always include sections. The first of which, your resume should begin with your information. At a minimum, you need to include, obviously, your name, the name by which you prefer to be called. You need to include a contact number. You need to include an email address. You can include other items like a link, a shortened link to your LinkedIn URL, but keep it simple. There is arguing kind of trains of research that indicate that perhaps putting a street address, city, state, zip is not only unnecessary, but can also lead to some geographic discrimination. So it's not necessarily a problem. It might also be an indicator for employees. Let's say you're applying for jobs in San Diego, California, but your resume address currently says Richmond, Kentucky. They might infer that as, well, perhaps this individual didn't know it was in California. They're probably not going to be willing to move. So by removing that information, you kind of leave the door open for opportunities. In addition to your personal information, at a minimum, you want to include information about your education and your experience. Other sections that you might include might be something about skills, accolades, or awards, or volunteer opportunities, or extra credentials that you have that may not fit nicely under other headings, or that you want to offset and put in their own section to bring attention to. It is a personal journey as to the sections that you include outside of education and experience as a way to best highlight your skills and why you are the best candidate for this position. Not all positions, this position. You want this one, you want to work at this job. In thinking about your education and thinking about your experience, don't sell yourself short. If in your education section, all it says is Eastern Kentucky University, Bachelor of Business Administration, class of 2025, and that's it, again, you're doing yourself a disservice. Think about accolades, think about awards. Were you on the dean's list? Were you on the president's list? Did you have a major, a minor, certificates? What are the things that you need to include? Is your university accredited? Eastern Kentucky University's College of Business is AACSB accredited, and that's something that you would want to include in your education piece. Don't sell yourself short. For many students leaving college, this is their biggest selling point. The opportunities, the accolades and awards they've received while in college, and the education, the courses that they've taken, the certifications that they've received while in college can be the biggest hallmark of showing why they are the best candidate for this particular opportunity. The last tip that I have for you is you've got to make it perfect. Now, human beings innately are not perfect, and I get that. But if you don't take the time to review your resume to ensure that the alignment is correct, to ensure that there aren't any typos or misuses of comma or other type punctuation or any type of technical or grammatical error, here's the thing. The employer reviewing that, assuming it gets to a person, is going to view that as carelessness. And if you don't care enough to review your resume to make sure there aren't senseless errors in it, then they'll probably assume that you're not going to care too much about your own work at that organization and ensuring that it is correct, it is complete, and so forth. So take the time, review it again, have someone else look at it. Make sure that it is perfect before you send it out. Thanks so much for watching these. I hope these tips and tricks have helped you in thinking about putting your job search package together and looking forward to opportunities in your future.